They're working them out.
Reed is here. We can start now.
What do you want?
Yeah. Yeah, I talked to him quite a bit. Okay. Must be 7 o'clock. You ready? Like to call the meeting to order. It's okay if we start, Raph? Roll call of aldermen.
Alderman Hazel. Here. Alderman Kinsella. Here. Alderwoman Pusa. Here. Alderman Bittner. Here. Alderman Randall. Here. Alderman Tyler. Here. Alderman Anthony. Here. Alderman Ovian. Here. Alderwoman Schaefer. Here. Alderman Dintelman. Here. Alderman Gah. Here. Alderwoman Steele. Here. Alderman Wygant. Here. Alderman Elmore. Here. Alderman Wigington. Here. Alderman Barfield.
Here.
All 16 are here. Roll call of department heads.
City Treasurer Hart. Here. City Attorney Horner.
Here.
Police Chief Bill Clay. Here. Fire Chief Tom Poor. Here. Finance Director Jamie Matrit. Here. City Engineer Tim Gregowitz. Here. Director of Maintenance Ken Vaughn. Here. Human Resource Director Sherry Faber. Director of Parks and Recreation Debbie Belleville. Here. Health and Housing Director Bob Sabo. Director of Public Works Jason Poole. Here. Director of Wastewater Royce Carlisle. Here. Director of Economic Development Anissa McCaskill. Here. Director of Library Leander Spearman.
Here. Bob Sable is excused and everyone else is present. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're able, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We do not have a public hearing this evening, but I want aldermen should have already been aware, and to those in the room, the public and the press, if you haven't already seen, you might have probably already seen because she's so efficient. We are having a public hearing on a special city council meeting on Monday, December 11th at 6:30 p.m., this room. And the purpose of the hearing is about reference to tax levy that we will be voting on, and they'll be voting on it after that meeting in finance, and then we'll be voting on it on the 18th. Right, Jamie? Okay, so no public hearing tonight, but that is coming up, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get out of here tonight and fail to remind you, because I know sometimes emails slip away past us. Okay, at this time, I will open public participation. If someone would like to speak, please raise your hands. I will call on you. Come to the front microphone and give your name and try to keep the topic to something that's going on in the city, and probably no more than 3 minutes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Eckert. My name is Clinton Toll. I'm speaking on 11A2 on the second page about the zoning for a purpose variance permit to park my camper on a parcel that I've purchased. I'm looking to store this on there. It didn't pass in zoning, so I'm here to reevaluate and change the focus a little bit. I don't have the funds currently to put a structure on this based on the ordinances that are out there. I have to have a structure there to be able to store it there. So I'm looking to put a building there to store it, some type of shed to put my camper in to protect my investment at that point. I don't have the funds currently. I'm hoping to put that into, and the reason why is because of a wedding and the current debt that I accrued to purchase this parcel. I'm trying to get this to where the structure exists to be in compliance with the ordinance so that I wouldn't need the use variance at that point. So that's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
Hopefully I procure a loan to build something by the end of 2019, 2020 is what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening in public participation? Yes, sir, in the back of the room.
Stuart Lannert, Belleville, Illinois. 600 Wabash. Someone should have looked into that uh, construction long before it got to its present state. I went by there a few times over probably a 6-month period, and I could tell the people working on it didn't have a clue of what they were doing. And I guess Phil Elmore was sleeping at the switch, because that should have been, the way I understand the paper, they had no building permit, so they should have told those people they need to get a building permit before they can continue. And I called Mr. Elmore, and when I told him my name, he promptly hung up on me. I thought that was kind of rude. And Hofbrauhaus in Munich, Germany, the Nazis crammed in 2,000 people for one of their many meetings in Munich, Germany. I don't think there are that many Nazis in the Metro East.
Stuart, we've talked before,
Okay.
okay?
I feel a lot safer tonight though here, since we got everybody has to go through the metal detector.
Thank you, Stuart. Okay, is there anyone else this evening with public participation? Hearing none, I'm going to close public participation. And I'm going to go into the portion of the meeting that deals with recognitions, presentations, and appointments. The first thing tonight, we have on the agenda something that I've been wanting to bring to you for some time, since I became aware of one of our outstanding teachers being selected to do a really fabulous, interesting study last summer. And we kind of put it off, and I shouldn't say put it off, but time escapes us so quickly. And then when I was thinking the other day, I thought, you know, her whole thing was the study out in the Pacific of World War II. So I thought, well, you know, in just a couple days, we're going to have the reminder again of the annual Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, and certainly an awful lot of the history and the Pacific, the activities and the horrible war that went on in the Pacific. I know my own father was assigned to the Pacific in the Navy in World War II. So at this time, we have on the agenda under 7A1, I'm not quite sure the initials, I should have looked this up before I came here tonight, ABMC Education, Understanding Sacrifice of Fallen Heroes, the presentation of the USS Arizona, Seaman Second Class Bruce D. Bradley, who was killed in World War II, and our own Katie Harner, who is a longtime teacher at Belleville East High School, happens to be the better half of our city attorney, but he didn't mind me saying that. But she's here tonight, and she's got some support from her superintendent and her principal here. We're always glad to see those two gentlemen, Dr. Dozier and my longtime years ago Cub Scout, Jason Carson, our Boy Scout. But I'm going to ask Katie to come forward. We have a very short video that we're going to show you. I think is going to be very interesting. But before that, maybe just explain a little bit about what you were selected for. And this was a wonderful opportunity. And I told you last summer, this is something that we need to share.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Eckert, for having me and for announcing that I'm a veteran of Garrett Horner. But I was selected last year, one of 18 teachers nationwide, to participate in something called Understanding Sacrifice, which is aimed at recognizing soldiers from World War II that died in the service of their country. This last program was focused on the Pacific. So each teacher was given a different part of the war in the Pacific to focus on, research a soldier that died, and then create a eulogy for them, and then lesson plans around that topic. My topic was Pearl Harbor. I found a soldier that died at Pearl Harbor on the USS Arizona. I found someone from the great state of Illinois. I looked desperately for someone from Belleville, but no one, which is lucky. But he is from Paw Paw, Illinois, and then ended up moving to Elgin. We went around the Pacific, starting in San Francisco, going to Honolulu, and finishing in Manila, giving our eulogies at the gravesite of the soldiers that we found. I was lucky because they allowed me to give my eulogy aboard the memorial of the USS Arizona. It was a wonderful experience. I selected someone that very little was known about. He was only 19 when he died. So it was my honor to find members of his family that are still surviving and tell the story for them so they had some part of history for their family. So thanks for having me, and I hope you enjoy
What
the
I was
eulogy.
going to say to Katie before we watch this, I've been fortunate enough to have been asked by her and some of her co-teachers that she works with or she supervises to come out many times to Belleville East and be engaged in, which I love to do, speak to government classes and mostly answer questions because they put you on the spot. And, but I know she's very passionate about history, but I know from my conversations with her since she's had this wonderful trip that she truly put herself into this. And I think what we're going to see and what she experienced and what she's going to be able to give back to our students is a fabulous experience. And we thank you. We thank you for your dedication. We got some other teachers in this room. Andy Gow, one of our own, teaches at Belleville East with you. And we're very fortunate in Belleville to have the Dr. Dozier and the two high schools and so many other schools. The city of Belleville, that's one of the big pillars that keeps Belleville strong. So thank you, Katie, and we appreciate you being here tonight.
Thanks.
So, Rich? Okay, sir. Do we need, we should be able to see. Do we need to dim the lights?
I don't think so.
Probably.
We currently stand on one of the most visited historic sites in all of Hawaii. The collective tragedy of the USS Arizona is one of the best-known stories of bravery and loss in American history. For the past several months, it has been my great honor to narrow that focus of this historic moment and uncover the story of one sailor, Seaman Second Class Bruce Bradley. Bruce Dean Bradley was born on January 29, 1922, in the rural town of Paw Paw, Illinois. Due to his mother's illness, he was sent to live with his sister Laura and her husband in Elgin, Illinois, when he was just 7 years old. Laura all but raised him as her own. Bruce left high school to enlist in the United States Navy and begin his service to his country. On December 7, 1941, Seaman Second Class Bruce Bradley was among the 1,177 sailors and Marines who died aboard the Arizona when it was hit by Japanese bombers during the surprise attack on Hawaii. In my attempt to uncover the unique story of Bruce Bradley, I discovered instead that Bruce represented a large portion of men and women who answered the call to service in World War II. As a young man raised in the heart of the Prairie State, Bruce was no stranger to hard work and duty. Farm and factory work were the two staples of life in Northern Illinois. As Bruce embarked on his military journey, he must have been filled with a sense of adventure and possibly fear. I try to imagine Bruce's emotions as he first arrived in Hawaii, a scene so different from the landlocked fields of his home state. He surely felt he had arrived in a tropical paradise. I try to imagine what it must have been like on that fateful Sunday morning when, at age 19, Bruce was taken by surprise when the Japanese attacked his ship. How this beautiful setting turned into a war zone filled with chaos and carnage. How Bruce was likely awakened by the sounds of gunfire and bombs, along with the screams of men. How in the face of gripping fear, Bruce and his shipmates sprang into action to man their stations and fight to survive. How Bruce ultimately lost his struggle alongside so many of his comrades. How in dying among these men, Bruce Bradley contributed to the story of America's freedom. Bruce, you were just 19 when you died, but here we stand 76 years later, remembering your service and contributions. After the Pearl Harbor attack, your father and sister wrote letters to the Navy, hoping for news of your survival. Just over 1 month after Pearl, your father was informed that your body was unrecoverable and that you had lost your life in the service of your country. I visited your birthplace of Paw Paw, Illinois, so I could walk the streets of your childhood. What I found was a town that has still not forgotten you. Your service is honored in a veterans memorial in town, and a headstone bearing your name sits in your family's plot at the local cemetery. Your great niece has worked so tirelessly to replace your lost Purple Heart that a bill called Honoring Our Heroes Act is being introduced in Congress to help families seeking to replace lost medals. In doing your duty, in manning your station, you inspired a generation of men and women to defend American liberty and freedom in the greatest military struggle of all time. By sacrificing your life, you inspired those men and women to win that struggle. Your death, Bruce, as well as your life, are not forgotten. To commemorate your sacrifice, your great-nephew and namesake wrote a poem in your honor entitled Uncle Bruce, in which he explores the events of your final day. These last lines of the poem illustrate the essence of what brings us here today. Their loss is still felt after all of these years, even today as we dab at our tears. For Bruce and his mates in their barnacled grave, the lives that were lost, that no one could save. May they rest on their ship in eternal slumber, remembered by name and not just a number.
Very touching. Outstanding, Katie. So I think it's fair to say that all of us, when we look at our calendars in just a couple days, and it hits December 7th, we will certainly think about this presentation and be reminded. And many of you here, I don't know. I know that my own parents would always, and the conversation became very much discussed after the horrible day of 9/11. And I can remember my father had just passed a few days before that, said, you know, how she remembered what they were doing that day and how they gathered around the TV set, because she was in that time still a young, relatively young girl. She was in high school. So this is a great educational experience for you, but for the students of the School District 201 who will get a chance to listen to you in more detail and watch this and think about it. So thank you for sharing tonight. Jeff, thank you for being here, taking time. I know you certainly support your staff and your colleagues, and Jason, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks all of you for being here and sharing this, and we appreciate it very much. Okay? And now we're going to segue right into two Belleville West students who are going to come forward, and I'm going to let them introduce let me get my thing here. Alicia Willis and Jalen Williams from Belleville West are going to give us the character word of the month, and I don't know, they may have some other words of wisdom for us.
Hello. So So the word of the month is empathy. Identifying and understanding others' feelings and others to get along better.
And a good example for empathy would be like putting yourself in someone else's shoes, so understanding how they feel and stuff like that.
I tell you what, we have been very blessed throughout the last number of years to have the basic students, and they're both a part of basic. I think Jalen's a senior, and Alicia says she's a junior. And this has been truly a partnership with our schools and what they do to mentor younger students in the grade schools, what they do to come together and decide to raise funds for selected local charities that they research. This is a great organization, and to the two of you and all your other students that you work with on the basic board, we thank you, and we always look forward to having a group of you or two of you at a time come to our meetings. Thank you very much, okay? All right, we're going to move on now to the approval of the minutes. And we have the City Council meeting minutes from November 20th, 2017. If you've had a chance to discuss them, look at them. When you're ready, I'll be glad to entertain a motion to receive and file. Alderman Elmore, second by Alderman Pusa, made a motion to receive and file the minutes from November 20th. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Claims, payroll, and disbursements. I'd ask for a motion to approve the claims and disbursements in the amount of $3,880,229.06 and the payroll of $839,413.39. Motion by Alderman Wiggington, second by Alderman Schaefer. Any discussions on approving these payments? Roll call.
Hazel. Aye. Kinsella. Aye. Pusa. Aye. Bittner. Aye. Randall. Aye. Tyler. Aye. Anthony. Aye. Ovian. Aye. Schaefer. Aye. Dintelman. Aye. Gah. Steele. Wygant. Elmore. Wiggington. Barfield.
Motion carries. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to receive and file the Treasurer's Report October 2017 and the Statement of Cash and Investments Report October of 2017. Motion by Alderman Dillman, second by Alderman Schaefer to receive and file. Any additions or corrections or questions here? Hearing none, all in favor to receive and file signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Zoning Board recommendations, let's take them, I think we'll have to probably go one at a time.
Okay.
There's only three of them.
11A1, 62 November 17, Andrew and Erica Willis, a request for a special use permit for reestablishment of multifamily dwellings at 1005 West Main Street, parcel 08210328020, located in a C2 heavy commercial district, applicable section of the zoning code 162.248, Ward 2. The board recommended approval 6-0.
I make a motion this be approved.
Motion by Alderman Pusa, do I hear a second by Alderman Bittner? Do I hear discussion? All in favor of approving this and having the proper ordinance, okay, I'm sorry, Alderman. I'd like to know what this property was before it basically came up for use, for a special use permit. Why was it not being used as multi-purpose? Anissa, you want to answer that, please? She's got some particulars, I think, to share.
Actually a dog grooming business, and there was multifamily above, but it was a legal nonconformity. So basically it existed without it going through the zoning process. So the applicant has now coming forward in order to expand his barber shop. He already owns one in the city. So he would establish that on the first floor, which is a permitted use, and he seeks to have a rental space above his barber shop. Some of the things that were discussed at the zoning board, and I believe that we have a draft of the minutes, were security, entrances, proper parking. So there would actually be security cameras installed on the site, additional lighting. There's a separate entrance for the apartment. There was an apartment that was in existence, but it's been vacant for over a year, and he wishes to reestablish that use. And that's why he's seeking the special use permit.
Okay, does that answer the questions? So we have a motion, a second, to approve the zoning board's recommendation to have a proper ordinance drawn. If there's no further questions, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
11A2, 64 November 17, Clinton Toll, a twofold request for a use variance to permit prolonged use of a temporary recreational vehicle at 715 Ann Street, parcel 08270141018, located in an A1 single-family residence district, applicable sections of the zoning code 162.027, 162.093, and 162.094, and to permit use of said temporary recreational vehicle for storage. Applicable sections of the zoning code 162.093 and 162.094. Ward 6, the board recommended denial 5-1.
Okay, I open this up for a possible motion or consideration and any discussion. So who wants to go first? Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I would make a motion that we agree with what the zoning board suggested and we deny this petition.
Okay, we have a motion by Alderman Kinsella to concur with the zoning board and deny. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Second by Alderman Wiggington. I'll now open it up for discussion. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I think that if we allow this to happen on an unoccupied lot, once we start that, we'll never stop because there are a lot of unoccupied lots. And right now, I have places in my ward that I'm having problems with people parking trucks and campers. This one's actually a trailer, a house trailer, and 2 tractor trailers on the property. And it's probably not the owner that's doing it, but because it sits empty, we have to go find who owns them. And it's a headache. So I personally think we should not do this. We have a lot of people who would just park things in the old place.
Alderman Hazel.
I agree with Alderman Kinsella. for a different reason. As requested in the variance, it's a two-vote request, and I would certainly vote to deny just simply for the fact that he's wanting to use this as for storage. That simple, that excludes it from us being able to allow something like that.
Anyone else? Alderman Bittner?
I wasn't asking the zoning board, what were the reasons why the zoning board denied it?
I'll let Anissa speak to that. Grab a little bit more water here. Go ahead, Anissa.
Excuse me, the camper trailer for storage. However, he does wish to store it on the empty property. In terms of what the zoning board, the reasons being that the zoning board denied the request, there are several different factors they have to consider. One of which being is, are the reasons that the variance might be necessary of the making of the applicant? And part of what they discussed was, in buying the property and putting the trailer on there, that created the need for the variance because the property isn't zoned for that. You would need a variance in order to do anything like that. There was discussion about possibly building a structure to house the trailer because there have been situations where individuals have come forward, they've requested to build what would typically be an accessory structure in order to house something or to store something temporarily while they're doing something, and that was seen favorably by the board. But in this particular instance, that was not something that was being considered. It was strictly to place a trailer on an empty lot and to use that empty lot for storage space. The applicant did mention, when he came forward for public comment tonight, that he is willing now to build a structure to store his trailer. However, he's saying he would not be able to do that until 2020. That was not part of the discussion at zoning board. They asked him if he'd be willing to do it, and at that time, that was not something he considered, and he said that it would be cost prohibitive for him to do so, so they moved forward with the negative recommendation.
One of the questions, Anissa, I don't know if you can answer it or not, but does the applicant live nearby to keep an eye on his property there?
He can answer that, but that was part of the discussion. The applicant actually does live in St. Louis City. However, he says he has family in the area. And in his email that was forwarded to the alderman for the ward, he did mention something about the possibility now of putting cameras. However, when that was mentioned during zoning board, that was not something that he said that he was willing to do at the time or had been a consideration at the time. However, since that time, the email that he sent today said that he'd be willing to do so.
Okay. Yes, yes.
That's our ward, and we talked with the neighbors right next to it, and they're okay with it.
The abutting neighbors don't have a problem, you're saying?
No, there's one right next, can you talk to?
Yeah, I can speak here and answer any questions.
Yeah, the one that's right next to there with the garage.
Yeah, that's Tim Townsend. He's actually was going to be here today, and he has not shown. He was in favor of this. He's actually rather upset about the decision from the zoning board because of, just that's just how he felt. So he actually has a camper as well, and he's right there. He watches it. My brother lives 2 blocks away. He drives by it every day. I'm in town 2 to 3 times a week when I pick up my kids. I drive by it every day. I stop. I check to make sure that everything's okay with it. There's a street light right in front of the camper. Like I said in my email when I sent this to you, as being a locksmith at one point in time, if somebody wants to steal something, they can do it. It only keeps honest people out. I understand that.
I understand. Okay, I appreciate those answers. Thank you. I think the question Alderman Kinsella raises is the precedent, and anybody else have concerns? I mean,
How big is the lot, Mayor?
the lot is how big? Do we know the size of the lot?
50 by 150, it's 0.16 acres.
Yeah.
Would you be able to put a house on there or a structure? I mean,
Not with its current zoning.
it's too small, right?
The current parcel was built for a mobile home. It was designed to be built for a mobile home. Since then, there's ordinances that don't allow that in Ward 6, so its purpose is not really there. When I purchased this property, I was not aware of this ordinance, and I purchased it not knowing. So it meets the purpose of what I want to do to store it, but I can't really justify building a home on this parcel. with its structure and the way it is currently. Also, the neighboring values in land would depreciate the value of my home after I built it significantly.
Alderman Elmer?
You can't justify it, but it's not allowed if you could justify it. Is that my understanding?
The property is zoned A1 single family. So for him saying that he couldn't justify it, I think that is more of a financial justification. If he were to seek a variance for a single family residence, as long as he could meet the requirements of the building code and our setbacks, he would be able to do it if the city granted that variance. So it is zoned for, not for mobile homes, because that is a separate zoning designation. So when he states that there's no zoning for that in Ward 6, that's meaning that there is no property that is currently zoned for mobile home designation. Someone could always come forward and seek a variance to place a mobile home on the property, just like they could for a single-family residence.
Was this part of the area that was rezoned in 10 years, 15 years ago?
I couldn't find any previous
Okay,
zoning
it's
for
probably
it.
been single
I'm
family.
wondering if at some point there had been several subdivisions or, you know, people buying and selling off portions of their property to create it.
Yeah.
But we do have several properties that don't necessarily meet the zoning standards. As a matter of fact, last month, we did approve some expansion on a property that was a legal nonconformity in an A1
Right.
for a porch and for a garage.
Okay. Alderman Hazel, and you're next.
Yeah, Mayor Garrett, do we have a current ordinance that excludes someone from purchasing a piece of property and using it for storage of a recreational vehicle?
No, it's not a permitted or special use under the zoning code, hence the desire now for the variance. You do have a section, for parking, section, 74.36, I don't know, some of you may recall, we did amend that, but it regulates the parking of recreational vehicles, but it really contemplates parking in a single-family district in relation to the house.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you don't have a house. If there was a house on there, you would be prohibited from parking it in the front or on the side of the house. And the idea is to block the view, the open view of the recreational vehicle. And there's also regulations about, in the parking, we had discussions about the surface and things of that nature too. So this is a variance to allow it under the zoning code. There may also be some implications under the parking section.
Well, this variance as written includes the use of storage, and so unless the variance is resubmitted for that purpose, I think we need to vote against this, because we certainly can't allow that for storage. And I believe that we do have that specifically excluded in our ordinance system.
Alderman Tyler?
Do we currently have any properties that are A1 that we have granted variances for this particular purpose in the city?
No.
None that I can think of either in my tenure. It is a unique situation. So we have a motion and a second to approve the zoning board's recommendation of denial of case number 11A2. If there's no further question, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. I'm sorry.
I would just say, being in my ward, I would be more comfortable with it if it did have a covering of a garage. You know, I could see if it was being stored in something, but the fact that it could be several years before there's a structure there. The property next to it, I mean, the property is kind of low. So, I mean, it really would be hard to have a good view of that property from the person, I think, that's supposed to be watching it. And I just feel like, you know, somebody could break into it and it could cause more problems without it being secured, you know, in a garage.
Yeah, I think it's a concerning precedent.
You know, Mayor, it really comes down to basics. We have an empty lot, and we don't want to set a precedent going forward. You know, we've got a lot of these lots in the inner city. We're trying to keep them clean, and if we change a variance, every time somebody comes along, and it really comes down to basics of somebody, let's say somebody wants to come along and put a still, being just facetious there, you know, I mean, we can't change and reestablish variances and ordinances for every vacant lot for everybody that wants to put something on that particular lot. We're just setting a precedent that's going to get out of hand.
It's certainly something to think about. I agree. Okay, I'm gonna ask for a roll call vote. An aye vote is to agree with the zoning board's denial of this request. Roll call.
Hazel.
Aye.
Kinsella. Pusa.
Aye.
Bittner.
No.
Randall.
Aye.
Tyler. Anthony. Ovian. Schaefer. Dintelman. Gah.
Aye.
Steele. Wygant. Elmore. Wiggington. Barfield.
The ayes have, I think it's 14-2.
Correct.
Okay, the request is denied. We move on to the next request, Jenny?
Yep, okay. 11A3, 65 November 17, Amber Johnson, a request for a sign installation permit in the area of special control for signage at 14 East Main Street, parcel 08210445008, located in a C2 heavy commercial district. Applicable sections of the zoning code 155.052 and 155.053, Ward 6. Board recommended approval 6-0.
Do I hear a motion from anybody from Ward 6? Motion to approve, is that what it is, Mary? And second by Andy Gao, the other alderman from Ward 6, to approve the zoning board's request, preference case number 11A3. Any discussion on this? All in favor to approve this and have the proper ordinance drawn signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'd ask for a motion from administration to approve the 2018 committee and commissions calendar. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Alderman Tyler, second by Alderman Dintelman. Any discussion on what was in your packet? That could just be an all in favor, right? All in favor of approving this signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Communications?
12A, communication from Bell Scott, Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce, to hold the January Bell Scott Committee meeting at City Hall on January 11th, 2018, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The meeting will include updates from Scott Air Force Base in the city of Belleville, introduction of new members, recognition of military leaders being reassigned, tour of City Hall, heavy hors d'oeuvres, a bar, and music.
Okay, do I first of all hear a motion to put this on the floor, and then we'll, motion by Alderman Hazel, second by Alderman Pusa. Let me just clarify, and then you can ask any questions you like. We've never done this before, but when we had the developers program here on October 20th, the one general that I had as speaker the next day came. He had been in Bell Scott years ago, and he said to me, and then he said to several people, and the base commander likewise said, we really wish more people from the military would have came and took this tour because it is extremely interesting. And this was really a good night to really see more with the videos we had and everything, what's going on in Belleville. So we talked about it at a recent Bell Scott planning meeting, and it was brought up, would we consider this? I said, well, we have to get the council's approval. But as we've got a lot of new people constantly turning over in Bell Scott, and I believe it's very important that we continue to build those relationships with the military and with these leaders. And I think that October 20th proved to be very effective. It's not that this would be a regular thing, but we've never done a Bell Scott here. But I would ask that you would consider approving this. I think it can be a very good tool to constantly build our relationship for the Bell Scott Committee. So we have a motion. We did get a motion, right?
Yeah.
We have a motion. We have a second. Are there any further questions? Roll call.
Hazel.
Aye.
Kinsella. Pusa.
Aye.
Bittner. Randall. Tyler. Anthony. Ovian. Schaefer. Dintelman. Gah. Steele. Wygant. Elmore. Wiggington. Barfield.
Motion carries. And just to clarify also, this is by invitation only to Bell Scott members and the military members who are on Bell Scott. So just so you know, it's very controlled, and it's probably, you know, about 100 people if they all came. So just so you're aware of that. Petitions, we have none this evening. Resolutions, we have none. Ordinances, I'd ask for a motion to read by title only. Ordinance 8338, 8338. 8139. Do I hear that motion? Motion by Alderman Consilla, second by Alderman Tyler, to read those two ordinances by title only, as a group. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
15A, ordinance 8138, 2017, a zoning ordinance in regards to 62 November 17, Andrew and Erica Willis. 15B, ordinance 8139, 2017, a zoning ordinance in regards to 65 November 17, Amber Johnson.
Do I hear a motion to approve those two ordinances? Motion by Alderman Schaefer, second by Alderman Wiggington to approve 8138 and 8139. Are there any further questions? Roll call.
Hazel.
Aye.
Consilla.
Aye.
Pusa.
Aye.
Bittner. Randall. Tyler. Anthony.
Aye.
Ovian. Schaefer. Dintelman. Gah. Steele. Wygant. Elmore. Wiggington. Barfield.
Motion carries. Unfinished business? Miscellaneous and new business, I'd ask for a motion to approve the motor fuel claims in the amount of $1,203.75. Alderman Steele, second by Alderman Pusa. Any discussion on the motor fuel claims? Roll call.
Hazel.
Aye.
Consilla.
Aye.
Pusa.
Aye.
Bittner. Randall. Tyler. Anthony. Ovian. Schaefer. Dintelman. Gah. Steele. Wygant. Elmore. Wiggington. Barfield.
Motion carries. I'm gonna ask for a motion to go in executive session. The real only purpose tonight is the review of a number of executive session minutes, which is something we need to do, and we long overdue, I guess, for a few of them that have been pending held for a long time. Motion by Alderman Consilla, second by Alderman Hazel. Yes.
Under miscellaneous first, before we go.
Yes.
I didn't know if it was new business, unfinished business or miscellaneous, but I've been getting various phone calls, emails, people stopping me on the street, asking me about the progress of Walmart. And of course, every rumor that someone has is, they think it's the truth. And I've been telling them that everything is still on track as normal, as I believe to be.
Well,
Is that accurate?
we've heard some information just recently. I will be perfectly honest with you, I did not give any updates because for the longest time it was rumors. We heard just not too long ago, but we're still trying to contact the parent company to see if we have been told just in probably Anissa, 3 weeks ago or so, that all projects, I think 40-some projects with Walmart are being stopped or on hold. Corporate decision. I didn't think at first we were a part of that, based on some information we received early on, and the fact that we didn't get any specific information, and then the fact that after we heard the original rumor, their attorney still came to our council meeting, the last one I think we had at Lindenwood, and approved the zoning and never said a word and never had any questions. Everything was still moving forward, which kind of led us to believe that things were still on, moving that one forward. We also believe that particular site, they had spent a pretty large amount of money on all the preparation, and so we kind of just held patient. The email we got does say that all projects, or this project's included in the ones on stop or hold. We're still trying to verify a little bit because we do feel that they were pretty far along, but it is very clear right now from what we are finding out from a few other people and friends in the development business that Walmart is going through a major review of all new construction, and that everything at this time does appear to be on hold. So we're waiting to hear more. I didn't come out with the rumors because we had some mixed signals, and we were trying not to, be our own worst enemy with mixed signals. But what it looks like now is that there is some evidence that our project too is also stopped or on hold, and we're hoping it's just on hold, but it could well be stopped from what we know. They're a large corporation, like a lot of large corporations across the country. From time to time, they just shift gears and decide to change directions, and I'm just told that right now they're doing a total reevaluation of all new builds.
Thank you.
Okay, and we were going to get something out, because I still have been waiting for one source to try to come back and still get some clarification. And that's the only reason I was trying not to be the one, but you're the first one that's asked the question since we got what we have now. And, we thought, you know, that's why I'm being totally candid with you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay? Anybody else? I just want to say before we go into executive session for the purpose as was just stated, we had the motion already, right? And we voted on going to executive session, correct? Okay, but before I ask everybody to step out, just a reminder again of the special council meeting. And Alderman, if you're not going to be able to be at the special council meeting on the 11th, so that we can make sure we have a quorum, please let our city clerk or my assistant know so that we can make sure we have a quorum. And then lastly, I just want to say one more announcement in case some of you don't come back in. Wednesday, December 6th at 7 o'clock at Stone Lodge, Bellevue Park, is the annual Angel of Hope Candlelight Vigil. And that is a very impressive, very moving service, very brief, and that doesn't last real long, less than an hour. But it's for the memorial of people who've lost children or grandchildren. And as you know, we had that very nice memorial built out there at Bellevue Park. It's a very, I try to go every year. It's very touching, and the people are very appreciative, the families who always come up and say they're so appreciative that the city provided, and it's very tastefully done by the Parks Department and all the volunteers who, over the years, raise funds to make that happen. So if any of you have never been to that, that's Wednesday, December 6th, 2 days away, at 7 o'clock at Bellevue Park Stone Lodge. I just wanted to announce that, okay? We'll now go into executive session, ladies and gentlemen. We'll probably have a motion to approve releasing some of these minutes, but it could be just a couple minutes, yes.
I don't think we voted on.
Did we vote? We have a motion. Who made the motion?
I did.
You made it and seconded. All in favor of going in executive session for the reason as stated to review executive session minutes of the past, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Huh? Yeah, it's a novel, all right. As I read through them the last 24 hours, I reminded myself I was at all those meetings. Okay, is anybody else coming in? Probably not. Executive session minutes to the city attorney's report Okay, all right, that's fancy wording. Hope I can get that. You should have gave that to Jenny. Okay, we are, huh? You're gonna, I'll still give it to you. Watch that lady in the green coat. Okay, we are back in regular session, and as stated on tonight's agenda, that there was a possibility of a motion to release executive session minutes. I would ask for a motion to approve the executive session minutes in the city attorney's December 4th, 17 report thereon, and release and/or, what's the next word? Maintain confidentiality of the same as set forth in that report, as we explained. Motion by Alderman Wiggington, second by Alderman Barfield. Any discussions about that motion? So just for the rest of you folks, we have an obligation every so often to read through and to release executive session minutes. There was a pretty big stack of them. We probably agreed to release about half of them, and there's probably about half of them, for whatever reason, because of pending litigation in most cases, they're still being held. So the council has had them, given to them, and they agree with what Mr. Harner has explained to them. So we have we have a motion and a second to release the ones that the city attorney agreed to, recommended, and hold the ones that he recommended we still hold. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Again, don't forget on on the special council meeting on the 11th. Right following that will be finance, and I do ask, this is one council meeting, I would ask that, one finance meeting, that we will, the finance committee will be voting on the levy that night. If any of you have questions before the 11th, don't hesitate to call Jamie or call myself, and we'll be glad to have a discussion and explain why we're proposing what we're proposing. Garrett and I and Jamie and this group here sat down last week or so and looked at all these different options and concerns. And so we'll be glad to talk to you, but we hope that you can come to the special meeting on the 11th and then stick around for the finance, which will follow immediately thereafter, okay? I now entertain a motion to adjourn. Pusa, Ovian, all in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.